guys that will be digging deep. Character development is really extensive, and there is even like insane difficulty setting unlockable after you finish the game on hard. So it's at least as much.
Okay, but the thing is, there's also a lot of things about the original game that I think a lot of fans really enjoyed, and it sounds like a lot of that stuff is coming back. Some of the mini games, the gambling, the fist fighting in the taverns, things like that, and also a bunch of new side quests as well, right?
Yeah, we didn't want to do a completely different kind of a story. I mean, it is a different story because it's a sequel. The story is brand new, but we didn't want to think about this, the changing the best aspects of it. So the choices are still difficult. They're not like good or evil. They're more like shades of gray. The world is really, a lot of things about this world are ambiguous. So you still will be running around and thinking, I mean, it forces a lot of players to make their own choices, and it makes the whole storyline to be different for everyone, because we've got 16 different endings. And I think when people will have finished The Witcher 2, a lot of them talking about what they have seen and what they have experienced in the game, it will be a different kind of experience. So comparing that will also be fun.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of side quests, I guess we've got one loaded up. Can you tell us about what we're seeing here?
Yeah, the one that we're seeing here is actually a side quest where one of the elves asked us to draw conclusions from the bodies that are laid in catacombs nearby. So we're just heading towards that, and because Geralt has an expert knowledge on monsters, he will be able to find out what killed these guys, what type of monster killed these guys. On his way, obviously, he meets some of the opponents. The cool thing about the combat situation that we see right now is that there are different types of opponents, require different tactics, and we'll be using different kinds of weapons against them. So strong guys require blocking. There's also a magician in business who tries to throw bolts at us. So we'll also be trying to, time our combat right, and we can also choose different magical signs to throw in. We also have items that we can throw, and blocking, for example, plays a huge role in The Witcher 2, because opponents that are really strong, if you block their strikes, they are so like fighting in a strong stance that they get out of balance, and getting counterattack at that moment is really, really cool. That was one of the bombs. It actually triggers really cool finishing move. It's one of the features of the stunning bomb. There you go. And there's a magician actually tends to teleport or heal himself. So normally, I mean, because for the sake of this presentation we tuned up health of Geralt, normally it would be quite difficult. And obviously there is loot that guys, I mean, it's not totally something unusual for RPG to have loot, but compared to The Witcher 1, we have gone great lengths with character customization. So things you can find right now, you can put them on, and it changes parts of how Geralt looks. All of them have different statistics. We even have rarity system. So some of them will be more difficult to find, and we even have crafting. So there's a lot of stuff that has been done to make The Witcher 2 even more full-bodied RPG than it was before.
I think earlier when we saw Geralt fighting, there was a radial menu that opened up that showed switching between different spells and your weapons and things. How does that work?
It's like, actually, in The Witcher 1 you had an octave pulse that allowed you to choose your statistic and tactics. Really, you could take your time. Right now it only slows time, so it still gives you some time, but not as much as you want. But you can choose magical signs, you can choose type of sword, and you can also customize your quick slots and use items that you have. Obviously things like meditation and preparation for combat should be done beforehand, but you cannot do it in a combat mode. But you can do a lot of other things and yeah, choose your tactics. You can actually even mix sword with magic, throwing in magical signs. There you go. One of them is a magical shield. It's one that guys know from The Witcher 1, but the effects of that have been extended, and it has this kind of knockback effect. So if anyone tries to hit you, he gets knocked back. And we also leveled up in this build that I'm showing you here. We leveled up this shield so that it gets like a chain reaction on everyone who's nearby. And this is actually a cool situation because a bunch of soldiers have been attacked by another bunch of monsters, and you're kind of in the middle of this. So it really kind of tends to be difficult. Yes, the magical shield is a really good tactics against such a huge group of the opponents.
And this is like a fireball type spell?
This was the Igni sign, which actually is throwing a fiery magic, and this is what you actually do if you want to put enemies on fire. It has this longer lasting effect, which is cool. And these are the catacombs that I was speaking about.
So but the different magic abilities, they seem like they have kind of a tactical use, or there may be better situations to use certain ones, or better enemies.
Definitely,
more vulnerable.
not only better situation, but also different types of opponents, different types of things you can do. There are more usages to actually signs. You not only use them in combat, but like now you will see that you can also use one of the magical signs to open up passages and to destroy obstacles, and it gives you the new ways of exploration. There are also monsters. Cool thing is, and it's one of the features of our game, it's always been, because these monsters are magical creatures, we have chosen a different sword, the silver sword, not the steel one, so it's more effective against this guy. I mean, there are a lot of things in the combat that you could actually find out. You probably have to feel it and feel it for yourself, because it's like, if you try to get around the opponent and hit him in the back, you deal like twice more damage. If you try to combine one of the signs, which is a magical trap on the ground, you stun your opponents, and then you're able to deal more damage because he's more vulnerable, and so on and so on and so on. Well, the cool thing about it, it's all real time right now. You're not attached to any type of stance, any type of fighting. You can throw in a strike, strong strike, fast strike. You can throw in some magic, so it's all like, there you go. And when you combine this, you might find your own ways to be really effective against different types of opponents.
And just given the fact that obviously there's going to be many different types of weapons and armor, as well as different types of weapons, how much kind of customization can you do with the weapon?
Oh, well, compared to The Witcher 1, it's pretty much like infinite growth, but basically there will be like dozens and even hundreds of things that you can find in locations, and there's going to be like a lot of things that have different statistics, and I already told you different like rarity of these items. And there will also be things like the whole suits that if you collect everything together, it will give you an extra. In the corner of a screen, you could actually even, well, you could have seen just a moment ago a combat log that actually shows that the combat that you have seen right now, it's not a simple hack and slash combat. It's a combat that has all the gameplay, real RPG things and mechanisms underneath it.
So it takes into account, how strong the weapon is.
Exactly, the chance of miss
sure.
and damage and pretty much everything. There you go. We actually found the body that we're seeking for. This is so-called a freshly put here body. So it's got a lot of clues on it, and we can find a lot of it. Actually, this is the moment where this quest gets non-linear, because you find a lot of things on his body, and obviously it gives you clues towards what kind of monster killed this guy. But if you really dig deep into it, and if you really seek more and more clues, you will find that some things are not right. Because it will turn out in a moment that a kind of monster that killed this guy is succubus. So it is a female-shaped monster that drains energy from young men. But the thing about it is she doesn't kill men. So actually something is wrong, and this is where another part of the story starts. So yeah, even as for a side quest, this really is a non-linear one. It's not the main part of the story, but what we tried to do is wanted to make sure that storytelling is not only about the main one. Obviously there are quests that are really simple and let you like grind levels only, like kill 5 harpies and bring me stuff back. But most of them take longer path. Some of them are even take place throughout the whole chapters of the game, or even throughout many of them. And yes, so
right. So
it's once again stressing that this game is story-based, and the main feature of the game.
Yeah, this quest, I guess, or this part of the game is kind of showing off Geralt's detective skills, because I guess since he's a witcher, he's a professional monster hunter, he knows, okay, these markings kind of look like maybe this sort of monster.
Exactly. I mean, we've put bigger stress than previously on the fact that Geralt knows a lot about what monsters do and what things that they're used to do. So in this case, you will be finding a lot more clues depending on what you see, what you read, what you find out, and what your knowledge is, because it's one of the branches of character development, knowledge on monsters. There will be even places where you find the nests of the monsters, and if you know what the tactics is against replenishing all the monsters in the area, you will find really rare or even unique magical ingredients or alchemical ingredients. And obviously you will also encounter really big and nasty monsters like this one.
Oh, that's a big one.
That is a big one. His name is Arakas, and there's quite a variety of these. And there are not too many tactics against this one that are really effective. You can see that we don't deal too much damage. Let me tell you that even as in this build, health of Geralt is tuned up, you can still see that he deals a serious amount of damage. So it stresses one more time. We don't have auto-leveled enemies. I mean, normally in a game, this would be a really, really tough opponent, so we would try to level up and get back here. So it is a game of, you know, oh yeah, this was actually a really cool thing about killing this guy with a stunning bomb. You also see that we have an entry in the journal, because it turned out that this kind of stunning bomb is an extremely effective tactics against this opponent.
So Geralt is saying, aha, this type of monster, I'm going
this
to
was a hot, yeah. That was the case where
yeah.
A hot. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, very cool. So we've seen the Witcher 2 in action. We've seen Geralt doing what he does best, hunting monsters. Tomasz, thanks.